Hello YouTube, Fits of Apathy here, and it's my first book review and outside video, and one of my first videos. Book I'm reviewing today will be American Psycho, and it was published in 1991 by Bret Easton Ellis, as I'm sure you all know. It's the first book by Bret Easton Ellis I've read, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on it. But first I'll explain to you briefly what the plot is. Now the plot basically centres around a man called Patrick Bateman who is accelerating into insanity, and he's trying to control it, but it's futile, and it's presented in a very flat, minimalist style with a really dry sense of humour, which is really repetitive, which works. It really works. Now, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's not one of what I would consider one of the best books I've ever read, but you know, it's up there. It's up there amongst the really good books. I'll give it about 8 out of 10, because it can get 7 out of 10, because it can get a little bit boring at times, because, like I said, the impact of the book is dependent upon how repetitive the style is and how flat and controlled Ellis is and the narrator Patrick Bateman's sense of humour is. So unless you're willing to just persevere, where at times you might feel bored, then you're not going to get the full effect. But don't complain that it's a bad book if you skip the pages, because the author didn't intend you to skip the pages, and if you start doing that, you're not going to get the full effect of the book. So it's pointless to turn around and say that the author wrote a bad book which you didn't read the full script of. I hope that makes sense. Now, as for the violence in the book, I personally, this sounds pretty twisted, but I liked that he included so much of it. And try not to take me the wrong way here, because I know some of you 5 people, hopefully, who are watching this, are going to be thinking, oh, you're a psychopath, oh, you're sexist, oh, what the fuck's wrong with you? But it's intentional, and it has an effect, because the repetitiveness of the author's style, and when he's describing Patrick's life, is supposed to lure you into a stupor. Patrick goes on about surface all the time in terms of, where he lives, Wall Street, what kind of high-class clothing people wear. And in this book, it really is the case that the clothing makes the man. And he obsessively talks about it, and obsessively hinges his emotional balance on one-upping people and making sure that he's keeping that one-upsmanship. And when that's not the case, as happens more and more in the book, entertainingly enough, it serves as triggers for him to lose control, even at small points. So my point is, because it lures you into a stupor, the graphic violence of the actual book serves as a really stark contrast. It's really in your face. It's really immediate. It's Patrick's reality, and when you're confronted with that after reading like 50 pages of mostly descriptions of high-class restaurants, drinks, food, and clothes, you really see. You can almost see how, for a psychopath, if you were to place yourself in his shoes, that would appeal, because it could serve as one of the only ways that he can escape that kind of monotony, I suppose through deviance, extreme deviance. I really love the sense of humour that Ellis used. Like I said, it is really dry, but it's really controlled. There is there are certain points. A particular point I love is when Evelyn, his fiance, Patrick's fiance, calls him, and Patrick imitates his own answering machine, because it kind of implies that he is vacant, he's not there. While when he ends it with pathetically saying beep, it's almost as if he can't even be asked to continue the facade. And his sense of humour it wouldn't work unless Patrick Bateman was a psycho. It wouldn't work unless he has no feelings, no regard for other people, and I really like that. Yeah, just checking the time. So, yeah, I think it really works. Another scene that's really, really effective to me, which it took me a little while to pick up on, was not a scene, but a contrast that really made me laugh, was after the scene, and the people who have read this will know what I mean, after his dinner with an acquaintance he runs into, and I suppose the night he spends afterwards, he reviews an album called Genesis, and now these two chapters, when you look at them together compared, are hilarious, because his dinner, I'll just say it, his dinner with his ex-girlfriend and the night he spends with her was almost unbearable. When I read the end of that chapter, I felt numb. And I've read some graphic stuff, but like I've read Maquis de Sade and, you know, other works like that, Justine, 120 Days of Sodom, and so there are stuff out there that's worse. And for those of you who complain that it's too violent and it's unnecessarily violent, it's disgusting, read Maquis de Sade, come back, take some NyQuil, calm the fuck down. But yeah, it did numb me, but you know, I got through it because it's a book. And what's funny is, in the next chapter, he reviews a band called Genesis, like I said, but he lists the qualities of the actual, of the band Genesis and their songs as being good because they imply a lot of things about humanity, and it's almost like he's trying to consciously show the reader that he is in touch with humanity, but it just doesn't work. And there's a particular point where he praises one of the songs because even though it doesn't have good vocal strength, I think it was him saying that the song was so about hope that it left you thinking of glorious possibilities, and I really, really liked that. That made me laugh a lot, because that was the moment I realised that how the hell would he know about that? And he even presents it in such a flat way as to not too subtly tell the reader that he's almost trying to cover up his own image, because he might have realised at one point